Hello and welcome back to Attacking Third, a CBS Sports Soccer podcast. I'm Sandra Herrera, CBS Sports lead NWSL writer, joined today as always by my colleague and co-host Lisa Roman. We're so pleased to have player interviews with our team by team previews, and we are doing our Houston Dash preview, and we have a special interview segment with Houston Dash midfielder Shea Groom. First time on the show. Welcome to Attacking Third, Shea.
Thanks, y'all. Happy to be here.
We're hyped to have you. Let's chat a little bit about off-season. That's how we like to open some of these interviews. Did you get up to any non-soccer related things that you were able to participate in? How's the dog? How's Bullet? Were you all able to spend some more time with each other? How was off-season for you?
Yeah, Bullet made his way around the country with me. We had a bunch of weddings. Next off-season might be even crazier. I guess there's 5 dash weddings 5 weekends in a row. So your girl is saving up.
All right,
it's getting crazy here, people. Yeah, we need to slow it down. So we went to a couple weddings and I took a few trips, and then came down with Omicron right before Christmas, so as did the rest of the world. So that canceled my Mexico vacation, unfortunately. But yeah, got to spend a lot of time in Houston and feel much more like a local now. People are like asking me for lists of coffee places and restaurants to go. And so I truly feel like a Houstonian. So it's been good though. And I'm excited, and I love Houston. I actually, like, when I say I'm a local, like, I could see myself staying here forever.
So Shea, you traveled around a lot, and I know you said you were going to a lot of weddings and you have a lot more coming up, very exciting stuff. But now that you consider yourself a Houston local, for someone like myself from Philadelphia, would you suggest Houston as a place to visit?
I would. And it's funny. So when I say like I'm a Houstonian, I cried at the thought of like living here years ago. Like I was like, last place on earth I'd ever live is Houston. And here I am, like, living in Houston. But the food scene here, I think, is just incredible and so underrated. Obviously, I've been to like LA and New York, and those places obviously are incredible for food. But Houston, like, so underrated for food. And there's just so much to do. I found like some Instagram accounts and some like bloggers, and they've dug up some really great hidden gems for me. So I would definitely say it's a good place to visit, but you got to do your research. Otherwise you're just kind of confused and you don't know where the city is, and it's just too big. And so, yeah, I would definitely say come visit though.
Okay. Well, when I come visit, I'm just going to ask you for all of the food recommendations. How's that sound?
I've got a Google Doc. I've shared it with all the new people on our team, just getting them excited about being here. So I will send it on over.
Sounds good. Talking about the team, I'm sure you're sharing it. I mean, early weeks of preseason, it's starting for you and for Houston Dash. So how have the first few weeks been with the gang back together?
It's been good. Obviously we had a bit of a bitter taste in our mouth at the end of last season, and coming up short in a season that definitely should have ended at least in a playoff run. So it's been good to get back and kind of finally be able to turn the page and get a lot of new faces in. I'm really excited about this group. I think there's a lot of great players on this team, obviously talent wise, but even more character wise. James and the staff has done such a great job of bringing in people that I think mesh so well, just in a character standpoint, and are willing to come in, work hard, and really not take anything for granted. So it's been fun. We just got back from College Station. We're about to go to Mexico and play Pumas there. So it's an exciting preseason, and it's been fun to, watch the league grow. I've, been in for a few years now. So it's nice to not just have to play, college teams or each other. Now we're taking it international and getting to play a good side. So it's exciting, and it'll be really fun.
Now with like a few weeks under your belt for preseason, it's always hard to tell with those first early days, but after a couple of weeks kind of going, and maybe you start to sort of feel really into the rhythm of things, really into the tempo of things with so many clubs, every club really in the off season going through some type of level of personnel changes, right? What is that like going into a preseason, knowing that you're going to walk into a brand new year with new faces? What's it like adjusting to that for yourself? And what's maybe some of your advice now that you feel kind of like a real Houstonian, a real official member of Houston Dash heading into 2022?
Yeah, like you said, I think there's personnel changes on some sort of level at every single club, especially this year. I think in the league, it's like no one knows who is on any of the teams because there's been so much movement. So, I've had my fair share of it. And I think this year, what has been special is being a veteran player. This is my third year here now, 8th year in the league. I know what it's like to be in the shoes of the players that are new to the team this year, whether it's new to the league or just new to the team. And so, being able to kind of walk through that with them. And I think one of the biggest pieces is just making them feel welcome. And, as silly as it sounds, just having a little Google Doc to know where they should go get their coffee or some different places to try, because when you move to a new city, it can be scary. And, it's sometimes a little depressing just staying in your apartment and recovering from training and not really getting out and exploring much. So, that's been definitely a big key. And then on the field, obviously, we have had a lot of changes on our team, but we still have a core group from that 2020 season where we were extremely successful. And, building off that, I feel like we have a lot of chemistry now. And, this being our third year together, with players like Jane Campbell, Rachel Daly, Katie Naughton, Sophie Schmidt, we're really establishing some of that chemistry, and we know how each other wants to play now. So then just bringing new faces into that and creating a culture that we're going to be proud of and that it's going to win us games.
It's not just the core players, like you mentioned, Jane Campbell, Katie Naughton, Sophie Schmidt, yourself, Rachel Daly. That's not the only constant. I mean, you are the only team in the NWSL that has a head coach that is not changed from the start of the 2021 season. I mean, James Clarkson still head coach. So when you start this 2022 preseason with James, I mean, what's kind of the vibe from him? I mean, how is he kind of approaching this 2022 year?
Yeah, I think that's such a huge thing. It's no secret that teams that come into the league, struggle a little bit because, they have to learn what their coach wants, what kind of playing style, what the personnel, how that is going to dictate your playing style as well. So I think just the consistency and, some of us having been with James, I mean, I've been with him for 3 years. I think he's been here for 4 now. You know what to expect, what he wants from a demand standpoint and a work rate standpoint. And now it's, more or less just being able to communicate that to the team as well. I never have envied any of our head coaches and the job that they take on in this league, because it is a big one. But being able to have players that understand what the demand is and holding that standard makes it so much easier. So it's been a lot more of a smoother transition. Like I said, obviously there's personnel changes every single year, but when you have a coach and you know what the playing style is, and he's been here for as long as he has, it's a lot smoother of a transition, and we're not playing as much catch up.
I want to follow up on something you mentioned with the 2020 Challenge Cup. You talked about it a little bit as a club. There was a level of success, right? That the club kind of came together in that really short span of time to just sort of push through and raise this inaugural cup for the first time. And then kind of rolling into this regular season, right? You guys just following short towards the end of the 2021 season. What is, how is the transition from maybe capitalizing on the success, right, of that short 2020 window in the Challenge Cup to translate into this season to sort of see a similar level of success for you all?
Yeah, I think for us, it was a lot of reflecting. I mean, I think our first day in the 2022 season, it was like James sat us down and was like, look, it just wasn't good enough. And I think we can all agree that. And we've all had enough time to reflect, and let's just not let it happen again. And I think there were a lot of themes and to reflect how the season went, giving up late goals and so on, where those goals were given up, what time they were given up. And so I think we've learned a lot from that. And, just having that ruthless mentality in 2020, I think, we had decided early on in the season, we had no idea what the season was going to look like, if there was going to be any sort of tournament. And we just decided, hey, we're going to train every single day as hard as we can. And when we get the opportunity to step on the field to play any sort of competition, we're going to win. And obviously no one expected that from us. It was like a 200 to 1 odds. So just having that inner belief, I think, set us up to know that, this club is good enough and we have the talent and organization to be able to do so. And, last year we came up short, but again, I think that makes us stronger and really highlighted what is going to make this a really successful team.
So interesting what you said, that I'm not sure our listeners fully understand that when a team gets together and they're in preseason and they're in training, it's not just looking at the last year and looking at the schedule and maybe the standings and your overall record and saying, okay, let's train a little harder. Let's run a little faster. Let's connect our passes. Let's defend a little smarter. It comes down to the tiny details and looking at when a goal is conceded and the time of it. It's so much off the pitch, and it's not just team as a group goals that come together, but it's also personal and individual goals. And for you, Shea, when you look at your personal success with Houston Dash and heading into the 2022 season, what are you personally, what goals are you setting for yourself and what are you hoping to achieve as an individual?
Yeah, I mean, I think, being on any team for multiple years, you take on that kind of leadership role. So for me, it's, being more vocal. Our midfield will obviously look a little bit different this year, not having Christy anymore. And so just being that voice in the midfield and being another scoring threat. Rachel is obviously somebody that has produced for this team time and time again. And so, giving her a little help in that sense and just being confident. I think when I'm confident, then things go well and the team does well. So for me, it's just stepping up, being consistent every single game and, taking on some of that responsibility.
You've been in the league for quite some time. One of the more experienced players out there, not just on the Dash. So I wanted to get your perspective on the 2022 season that we're jumping into right now. There was a double expansion, right, ahead of this season, and the league is going from 10 clubs to 12 clubs. What's, from your perspective, what's the buzz around that? What is going from a 10-team league to a 12-team league mean to you in terms of a player and the level of competition that you expect to see out on the pitch in the league?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredible. It means that it's growing and that these other people are interested. People are interested in owning teams. People are interested in bringing teams to these different markets that, really believe that it could be successful for women's soccer. And so it's really exciting. And I think that, moving forward, it's only going to continue to grow. And, more girls are going to grow up dreaming to play professional soccer. And, I can't say that I grew up thinking that because it wasn't accessible and there wasn't as much exposure as there is now. So it's a really exciting time. And I think, making the jump to 12 teams is a big one. And, it was a crazy offseason with so much movement. Obviously, you can only protect 9 players from the team. So the rosters look very, very different. But 2 great markets. And I think what's big for our league, being able to have more teams on the West Coast now, some of, the travel for those West Coast teams isn't as brutal. And, we're a little bit more dispersed throughout the country, not as many East Coast teams. So it's a big deal. And I think it's just the start of where this league is going to be in a few years.
It's not just the expansion clubs and growing the league, but there have been other changes that are advancing this league. Right before the start of the 2022 preseason, the NWSL Players Association and the league ratified its very first CBA, something that Sandra and I have been celebrating here at Attacking Third. We've been asking our players that we interview about it because it is such a huge deal. So for you, Shea, as someone who is a veteran in this league and has experienced a lot, when this was all coming out about the CBA. What were your initial reactions of it?
I actually had the honor of being a part of the Players Association throughout it in the collective bargaining agreement committee. So I had a bit of a front row seat, and, you know, I definitely don't even think I was a part of it as much as some of the other players in the league. I think it was something over like 300 hours that went towards it, in phone calls, Zoom meetings. So there was just so much work behind it. But I think, you know, it's so reflective of what this league is. It's a group of resilient women who are pushing forward to make this league better. And I think you see that within the CBA. And, you know, Megan Burke is an incredible human being. And, you know, we thank her every day because she, and I told her this personally, it's, you know, I've been on part of so many teams, and you hear, you know, ownership coming in, presidents coming in, telling you how much they want to make the club better and like make all these promises. And then you never see, you know, anything come from it. But she saw it in us, and she backed her words every single day. And, you know, at the end of it, it was such a fun and happy celebration. I remember sitting on that Zoom call and like being in tears and just like sitting there with people and just like, you know, saying, heck yeah, like we did it. Like, I can't believe we freaking did it. And to get some of the big wins that we got within the CBA was absolutely incredible. And, you know, we needed that starting point so that later we can continue to grow and make this league better and to finally enforce some standards.
You know, some of the players that we've had on now, including yourself, talking about being directly a part of that bargaining committee, right? Really the ones sort of getting in and out of those meetings, getting the intel and information first, and then sort of having to disperse that and kind of take on those extra responsibilities was a lot. And we heard a lot about the joy of sort of having this come to pass, having somebody like Merritt Mathias on with us, speaking a lot about that as well. And for someone like her, for someone like you, players, like she's been here since the beginning. You've been here 2015, right? So it's like, it's players who have had longevity in this league. Something that really struck us when we were taking a look at all of these bullet points that were coming out of the CBA was how there were a lot of things within it that you could tell were directly tied to like player experiences in this league. Was there anything in particular within all of these sort of wins or bullet points that maybe resonated with you on a personal level more than maybe some others?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was just, some of it was just so detail oriented that I'm not sure you'd see it in other CBAs, other leagues. But oh gosh, I mean, obviously free agency, being somebody that's been traded so many times, you know, just having a little bit more ownership over yourself and your likeness. I think we don't realize like how valuable just like our name is. So some of the group licensing stuff was really important as well. And you know, even like being traded, like I've had to cover so many expenses being traded. And it's like, I didn't choose this, I didn't ask for this, you guys just called me up and told me that, you know, I was moving across the country. So even some of those stipends and you know, little things to just supplement, you know, what we don't make on a salary level was really, really important. And then, you know, obviously, you know, for me, I've had to wait a really long time. You know, I negotiate a contract and then the minimum goes up. So I'm like, thankfully I'm in a place now where it's like, I've negotiated pretty hard on my last contract, but just having that entry level for players where it's not like embarrassing, you know, they don't have to have another job. Like, I really feel like we're at that starting foundation for salaries, and it's an exciting time because, you know, I started the league and it was $6,000 if, you know, you were on the minimum. So that's not a full-time job. That's not a professional athlete. So I think we're getting close, and this is just such a great foundation for that.
Love to hear it. We loving covering it all this time. This has been a delightful conversation. We like to close these out with a little bit of fun, maybe like a lighter hearted question. And this actually works out perfectly for your particular interview, because we've actually talked a lot about coffee on this episode already. So what we've been sort of pitching Well, we've been pitching players to sort of close out these interviews. It's been a little bit of a two-parter because in all the discussion of preseason, it's like talking a lot about getting back into a routine and a rhythm of sorts. And it's been a two-parter in terms of A, are you a coffee drinker, which I think you've answered already. So B, I'll just go straight to it. In terms of getting back into preseason, whether it's your go-to pre-training beverage or your post-scrimmage go-to beverage, what is your order and why?
Okay, well, I am a coffee drinker, but pretty like social, because there's some extremists on my team. Like, I mean, Veronica Wasco left, but she was drinking like 7 cups a day. And Haley Hansen's right there. There's some that like Rachel, they gotta have their coffee. But I'll get a flat white, or like I tried iced coffee I had never tried cold coffee. So I did that last year, and I'm good for a nice coffee, a nice latte. But as far as other beverages, like I need to be a Topo Chico ambassador. Like I love Topo Chico.
Yeah.
Twist of lime or twist of grapefruit, like is all you need.
All the
flavors.
Think
about it all day.
So you talked so much about your Google Doc that, of course, I will be following up about that for Houston. But when you get your flat white out, where do you go? What's your number one coffee spot in Houston? Where do you recommend?
Oh, so like all around coffee shops, I think Brass Tacks is up there. And then a place called Toot Sweet. And that has like desserts and food and everything. And both are incredible.
Write it down. You heard it here.
Yes.
You know what the real best coffee shops are is when they have like that little fridge in there and they actually sell Topo Chico in the coffee shop. Like,
okay, yeah, Grinders. That's another place. And yeah,
there we go.
There, you check off all the boxes there. I love it. You like it? I love it. We want to thank everybody, as always, for joining along and listening to our interview and episode. Shea, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck in the 2022 season. Everybody, you can follow us on Twitter at Attacking Third. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you listen to your podcast shows. You can leave us a 5-star review on Spotify now, and we're also available as video. Subscribe to us at youtube.com/Attacking Third. And we'll be back on with even more team previews ahead of the 2022 NWSL season. For Sandra Herrera, Lisa Roman, and Shea Groom, this was Attacking Third.